Why does Discordianism exist? That's a legitimately good question. And like most good questions, the answer is complicated, slightly absurd, and involves a golden apple. In a world obsessed with order, spreadsheets, 5-year plans, and the soul-crushing seriousness of it all, Discordianism is the rogue element, the glitch in the matrix, the person who brings a vuvuzela to a chess tournament. It is, at its core, a movement, part religion, part philosophy, part cosmic joke, that challenges the absolute dominance of order and seriousness in our lives. It's the chaotic good to bureaucracy's lawful evil. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds like something a teenager made up after drinking too much Mountain Dew, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong. But there's a surprising depth to this celebration of chaos. It's not just about being random for the sake of it. It's a deliberate, almost spiritual rebellion against the assumption that order is always good and chaos is always bad. It's about finding a different kind of balance, one that embraces the unpredictable and finds liberation in the absurd. And you know what? In a world that often feels like it's being run by people who laminate their to-do lists, a little chaos might be exactly what we need. So for anyone who's ever looked at a perfectly organized filing cabinet and felt a primal urge to shuffle all the folders, this one's for you. Tonight we're going to dive headfirst into the glorious, confusing, and frankly hilarious world of Discordianism. We're not just going to dip our toes in, we're going to cannonball into the deep end of the absurdity pool. So grab your rubber chicken and your third eye. Let's break down the top 5 reasons Discordians do what they do. Alright, reason number 1. To combat the Curse of Grayface and the rule of anaristics. Now, Grayface sounds like a villain from a low-budget 70s sci-fi movie, and honestly that's the perfect way to think about him. In Discordian lore, Grayface is the mythical figure who, back in the mists of history, looked at the joyful chaos of humanity and said, "No, this must all be serious." And beige. He convinced everyone that playing was frivolous and that life was a grim, orderly business. The result was the Curse of Grayface, a world drowning in seriousness, conformity, and joyless order. Think about it. Think about every soul-crushing corporate meeting you've ever been forced to attend, where buzzwords are used as a substitute for thought. Think about every form you've had to fill out in triplicate, every uninspired grey brutalist building, every moment where you were told to be realistic when you had a brilliant, insane idea. That, right there, is the Curse of Grayface in action. It's the oppressive force that drains color from the world and replaces it with shades of gray, demanding that everything fit neatly into a box, even if it has to be brutally mutilated to do so. This is where the anaristics come in. The followers of Eris, the goddess of order, are the ones who enforce this grim reality. They are the rule makers, the bureaucrats, the people who believe that a perfectly balanced spreadsheet is the pinnacle of human achievement. And according to Discordians, their obsession with imposing order, what they call the anaristic illusion, has made an absolute mess of everything. It's like trying to organize a hurricane with post-it notes. The more they try to control things, the more they suppress the natural, chaotic energy of the world. So, a core function of a Discordian is to act as a cosmic janitor, but instead of cleaning up spills, they're cleaning up the mess left by an excess of order. They see the world as constipated with rules, regulations, and seriousness, and they believe it's their sacred duty to administer a laxative of pure, unadulterated chaos. They are the counterbalance, the necessary disruption to a system that has become dangerously rigid. They are trying to undo the work of Grayface. It's a profound idea, really, that the problem isn't a lack of order, but a toxic overdose of it. That the systems we build to make our lives easier can, if left unchecked, become our prisons. The Discordian looks at the meticulously planned, sterile environment of modern life and sees not a utopia, but a spiritual wasteland. They see a world that has forgotten how to play, how to be spontaneous, how to embrace the beautiful, unpredictable nature of existence itself. And what's their weapon against this creeping greyness? Absurdity, humor, pranks, anything that shatters the illusion of perfect control, and reminds people that life is fundamentally, gloriously, and hilariously messy. They might leave a rubber hot dog in a bank deposit box, or declare a day of the week to be Punjin Day for no reason at all. These aren't just random acts of weirdness. They are targeted strikes against the tyranny of the mundane. This fight against Grayface isn't just a philosophical exercise, it's a call to action. It's a directive to actively introduce chaos, confusion, and creativity into systems that have become stagnant and oppressive. It's about recognizing that seriousness can be a disease, and the cure is a healthy dose of the ridiculous. It's a rebellion fought not with weapons, but with laughter, confusion, and a deep, abiding love for the unpredictable. So, when you see a Discordian engaging in some seemingly pointless act of mischief, remember what they're fighting. They're not just being silly, they are waging a holy war against the beige, the boring, and the bureaucratic. They are pushing back against the encroaching grey, trying to splash a bit of vibrant, chaotic colour back into a world that desperately needs it. They are, in their own strange way, trying to save us all from the curse of Grayface. The second reason Discordians do what they do is to adhere to a fundamental cosmic principle, the Law of Aristic Escalation. This sounds incredibly complicated, but the core idea is deceptively simple. It states that the act of imposing order directly creates a corresponding amount of chaos. Think of it like a cosmic boomerang. You can throw that boomerang of order as hard as you want, but it's just going to come swinging back and smack you in the head as an equal and opposite force of chaos. Let's use an example. Imagine you have a perfectly clean room. The anaristic or orderly impulse is to maintain that perfection, but the very effort to do so creates disorder. You stress about a speck of dust, you knock something over while cleaning, you become obsessed, and your mental state dissolves into chaos. Or on a grander scale, look at prohibition in the United States. The government imposed an order, no more alcohol. The result, not a sober, orderly society, but the explosive rise of organized crime, speakeasies, and a nationwide festival of chaotic law-breaking. The order created its chaotic opposite. Discordians see this principle playing out everywhere. The more a government tries to control its people, the more it fosters rebellion. The more a religion insists on rigid dogma, the more heresy and schisms it creates. The more you try to force a cat into a carrier, the more you end up with a swirling vortex of claws and fury and a deep sense of personal failure. The universe, in the Discordian view, is a self-regulating system that despises a vacuum of chaos. It will always seek to restore balance. So, according to this law, the problem with the modern world isn't that there's too much chaos. The problem is that there's been a massive, sustained effort to impose order everywhere, and now the universe is pushing back. Hard. The political polarization, the social unrest, the sheer weirdness of the internet. A Discordian might look at all this and say, see? This is what happens. This is the inevitable backlash from trying to pave over paradise and put up a parking lot of rules. It's the universe's immune response to an infection of order. The Discordian solution, then, is not to try and impose more order to fix the chaos. That would be like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It would only make the Aristic escalation worse. No, the solution is to work with the universe. If the world is suffering from an imbalance caused by too much sterile order, the only way to restore equilibrium is to actively inject more creative, joyful, and liberating chaos into the system. It's a form of spiritual rebalancing. They see themselves as agents of this cosmic correction. They are the pressure release valve for a society about to explode from an excess of seriousness. When they pull a prank or spread a bizarre rumor, they aren't just causing trouble. They are performing a sacred act, releasing a little bit of chaotic energy to prevent a much larger, more destructive explosion of disordered energy down the line. It's preventative maintenance for the soul of the world. This is why their chaos is often playful and confusing rather than malicious and destructive. They're not trying to burn the system down. They're trying to shake it up so it doesn't collapse under its own rigidity. They're like cosmic acupuncturists, sticking needles of nonsense into the pressure points of society to get the energy flowing freely again. It's a subtle but crucial distinction. The chaos they create is a remedy for the disorder caused by too much order. Ultimately, the Law of Aristic Escalation is a profound statement about the nature of control. It suggests that our desperate attempts to manage every aspect of our existence are not only futile but counterproductive. The more we tighten our grip, the more reality slips through our fingers. The Discordian response is to let go, to embrace the unpredictable, and to trust that a balance between order and chaos is not only more natural, but also far more stable in the long run. They choose to ride the wave of chaos rather than be crushed by it. Our third point is, perhaps the most revolutionary, Discordianism exists to achieve and promote freedom, and not just the political kind of freedom, but a much deeper, more personal form of emancipation. It's about freeing the mind from the shackles of dogma, expectation, and what the Principia Discordia calls all forms of imposed authority or belief. It is, in essence, a declaration of absolute mental sovereignty. Think about how many beliefs you hold not because you arrived at them through critical thought, but because they were handed to you. By your parents, your teachers, your culture, your government, your religion. Discordianism encourages you to take a flamethrower to that entire inherited structure. It posits that any belief system that claims to have all the answers is, by definition, a prison for your mind. The moment you accept a dogma without question, you stop thinking. And the moment you stop thinking, you are no longer free. This is why Discordianism itself is presented as a katma, a piece of dogma that you're explicitly forbidden from believing. The Principia Discordia, their foundational text, repeatedly tells the reader not to take it seriously. It's a religion that insists on its own falsehood, which is a brilliant philosophical trap. If you believe it, you're disobeying it. If you disbelieve it, you're still sort of doing what it says. The whole point is to short-circuit the part of your brain that seeks easy answers from external authorities. This leads to the radical idea of self-definition. A Discordian is encouraged to create their own identity, their own philosophy, even their own schism of Discordianism if they feel like it. There are no high priests, no central authority, and no official doctrine. If you want to be a pope of Discordianism, you just print out some pope cards and declare yourself one. Congratulations, you are now as much of a pope as anyone else. This isn't just a joke, it's a powerful statement that your identity and your spiritual authority come from you and you alone. This rejection of authority extends to everything. It's anti-government, anti-corporation, anti-religion, and anti-anyism that tries to tell you how to live or what to think. It doesn't say, here is the truth. It says, truth is a subjective, slippery thing, and anyone who claims to have a monopoly on it is trying to sell you something. The goal is to reach a state of what they call emancipation, where you are free from the mental programming of society and can perceive reality directly on your own terms. This is a terrifying prospect for many people. We are conditioned to seek structure, to want leaders, to be told what is right and wrong. Discordianism strips all of that away and leaves you standing naked in the chaos of existence, forcing you to make your own meaning. It's the philosophical equivalent of being pushed out of the nest. You either learn to fly by building your own wings or you go splat. But either way, the choice and the responsibility are yours. The tools for this emancipation are, naturally, chaos and confusion. By embracing paradox and absurdity, a Discordian learns to become comfortable with uncertainty. They learn to see that multiple contradictory things can be true at the same time. This mental flexibility is the key to breaking free from rigid black and white thinking. It allows one to look at a complex world and not be paralyzed by the need to find a single simple explanation for it all. So, when a Discordian tells you that they are a member of the Bavarian Illuminati and also a devout worshipper of a sentient bowl of oatmeal named Bob, they're not just being weird. They are practicing this mental freedom. They are demonstrating their ability to hold contradictory ideas in their head and play with them. They are exercising their right to define their own reality, no matter how absurd it may seem to others. It's a radical act of cognitive liberty in a world that constantly tries to put your mind in a box. Reason number 4 is one of my personal favorites: to promote thinking and laughter through chaos. Discordians have a deep and abiding faith in the power of confusion. They believe that when a person's reality is suddenly and inexplicably disrupted, when their brain hits a proverbial blue screen of death, something magical happens. In that moment of pure, unadulterated, "What the hell is going on?" the rigid patterns of thought are broken, and for a brief second the mind is open to new possibilities. This is the core of the Discordian prank, or what they might call an Operation Mindfuck. It's not about being mean or destructive, it's about creating a moment of cognitive dissonance so profound that the target is forced to question their assumptions about reality. For example, the legendary Operation Mindfuck involved writing fake letters to Playboy's forum from radical feminists and right-wing conservatives, slowly making each group's arguments more and more absurd until they started agreeing with each other out of sheer confusion. The goal was to make people think. Laughter is the other side of this coin. For a Discordian, laughter is not just a pleasant side effect, it's a form of salvation. When you are confronted with the fundamental absurdity of existence, the fact that we are highly intelligent apes living on a wet rock hurtling through an infinite void, worrying about things like interest rates and whether our socks match, you have two choices: you can despair or you can laugh. Discordians choose to laugh loudly and to encourage everyone else to join in. They see nonsense as a sacred tool. In a world choked by seriousness, a good solid dose of nonsense can be more enlightening than 1,000 sermons. It reminds us not to take ourselves, our beliefs, or our problems too seriously. When you can laugh at the absurdity of your own situation, you gain a certain power over it. Seriousness creates stress and fear. Laughter creates release and freedom. A joke can be a more effective weapon against tyranny than a sword. Think about the function of a court jester. The jester was often the only person who could speak truth to the king without getting his head chopped off, precisely because he cloaked his critiques in humor and absurdity. Discordians see themselves as the court jesters of the modern world. They use hoaxes, pranks, and surreal humor to point out the absurdities and hypocrisies of the powerful, be it the government, corporations, or organized religion. This is why their humor is often aimed at sacred cows. They revel in blasphemy and mock authority because they believe that anything that declares itself too sacred to be laughed at is probably hiding something. Laughter is a disinfectant. It cleanses the wounds of dogma and pretension. By making a joke out of something, you strip it of its power to intimidate and control. You bring it down to a human level. So the confusion they generate is a catalyst for thought, and the laughter they provoke is a catalyst for liberation. It's a two-pronged attack on mental stagnation. First, you break their brain with a paradox. Then you help them put it back together by showing them the cosmic joke they're a part of. The process is designed to be disorienting, but ultimately it's meant to be joyful. Ultimately, Discordianism suggests that the path to enlightenment isn't a solemn, silent march up a mountainside. It's a raucous, chaotic, and hilarious stumble through a funhouse. It's about finding wisdom in the ridiculous, clarity in the confusing, and salvation in a really, really good punchline. It's the belief that the shortest distance between a human being and the truth is a good laugh. And finally, we arrive at reason number 5, which is both the most personal and the most divine direct motivation from Eris, the goddess of chaos. Now, for the skeptics in the audience, you can view this as a powerful metaphor. But for many Discordians, this is quite literal. They believe they are answering a call, that they have been touched by the divine principle of chaos and are acting as her agents in the world. This isn't just a philosophy. For some, it is a lived, spiritual experience. Eris, in Greek mythology, was the goddess of strife and discord. She's most famous for kicking off the entire Trojan War. because she wasn't invited to a party. She rolled a golden apple inscribed with "To the Fairest" into a wedding full of gods and goddesses, and then sat back and watched the chaos unfold. This is the perfect patron deity for Discordianism, a divine being who uses disruption, not for evil, but to expose the vanity and foolishness of the orderly. She is the ultimate celestial prankster. For a Discordian, having a personal experience with Eris is the highest form of validation. This often comes in the form of a sudden, inexplicable moment of clarity or a profound experience of synchronicity and absurdity. Seeing the number 23 everywhere, for instance. This isn't about kneeling in a pew and listening to a sermon. It's about having the universe personally tap you on the shoulder and whisper, "Psst, it's all a joke, pass it on." This direct, personal experience of the divine is central to the faith. This leads to a deep emphasis on self-actualization. If the divine is not found in a book or a building, but in your own direct experience of reality, then the path to spiritual fulfillment is through exploring your own consciousness. Discordianism encourages a kind of do-it-yourself spirituality. You are your own guru. Your life is your scripture. The goal is to experience reality as fully and authentically as possible, in all its chaotic, contradictory glory. This personal motivation is what gives the movement its anarchic and creative energy. It's not driven by a committee or a 5-year plan. It's driven by thousands of individuals, each following their own weird, personal muse, each interpreting the Call of Eris in their own unique way. This is why Discordianism can look like so many different things at once. A joke, a religion, a political statement, a performance art project. It's all of those, because it is whatever its individual followers need it to be. The concept of a direct experience of the divine also serves as the ultimate rejection of spiritual middlemen. Discordianism says you don't need a priest, a guru, or a sacred text to mediate your relationship with the cosmos. You just need to pay attention. Pay attention to the weirdness, the coincidences, the absurdities. The divine is communicating all the time. We've just been trained by Grayface to ignore the broadcast. So, while the other reasons are philosophical and social, this one is deeply personal. It's the why behind the why. A Discordian combats the Curse of Grayface because Eris has shown them the beauty of color. They promote freedom because Eris has shown them that their mind is their own. They spread laughter because Eris has shown them the universe is a cosmic joke. It is the engine of personal inspiration that powers the entire chaotic machine. In the end, this might be the most compelling reason of all. It's not just an intellectual exercise, it's a calling. It's the feeling that you are part of something strange, wonderful, and cosmically important. It's the personal, undeniable, and often hilarious realization that your job in this life is to be an agent of chaos, a holy fool, a sacred clown, answering the divine call to go forth and gently mess with everyone's head. So, whether you're cleaning up the mess of too much order, laughing at the absurdity of life, or just answering the call of Eris, Discordianism is all about shaking things up. It's a reminder that order and chaos are not good and evil. They are two sides of the same cosmic coin, and a healthy world needs a balance of both. It's a philosophy, a religion, and a joke that dares you to take it seriously, knowing full well that if you do, you've missed the point entirely. It's a funhouse mirror held up to reality, showing us that our rigid structures and solemn beliefs are often far more ridiculous than the craziest Discordian prank. It's a call to reclaim our own minds, to reject the pre-packaged answers handed to us by the Grayfaces of the world, and to find our own truth in the glorious, unpredictable mess of existence. It's about understanding that the most profound wisdom can be found in the silliest of places, and that a good laugh can be a revolutionary act. It's permission to be weird, to be playful, and to be free in a world that constantly pressures us to be normal, serious, and confined. So, the next time you feel the oppressive weight of conformity, the next time a pointless rule makes you want to scream, maybe take a page from the Discordian handbook, embrace a little nonsense, question a sacred cow, do something unexpected and utterly pointless just for the hell of it. You might just make someone think, or better yet, make them laugh. Remember, when in doubt, choose chaos and don't take yourself too seriously.